Hi there everybody, this is Molly McCord and welcome to a new video where we're going to take a look at the Sagittarius full moon. This will happen on June 17th, 2019 at 4:31 a.m. That's Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So be sure and check your location on the planet for the exact time it's happening for you. Let's take a look at what we have going on in this very optimistic, happy, and buoyant full moon. So the full moon is when the moon is exactly opposite the sun. And we have the sun at 25:53 minutes of Gemini. The moon is at 25:53 minutes of Sagittarius. And it is widely conjunct Jupiter at 18 Sag retrograde. So there's a lot of energy in this full moon around movement, around things happening, wanting to move, wanting to travel, wanting to mentally move, wanting to understand, a seeker's energy, the desire to explore and to go beyond what is known, to see what's just over there, what's beyond my reach, what have I not studied, learned, or come to understand yet that it's pulling me. This moon has a pulling you forward energy, and it actually peaked a few hours before this full moon when the moon was conjunct Jupiter at 18 degrees of Sag, and there was a pull forward. And Sagittarius is not only a seeker, but it's the one who wants to do mystical travels, who wants to understand the bigger picture, the philosophies, the spiritual wisdom, the ways that it all plays together. What do I believe about this? So I feel this as a true whisper from the soul that's giving you insight into where you're ready to expand, what you're ready to see in a new way, where you're ready to go beyond, and that could be literally or figuratively what you've known. Sagittarius is wonderful at the energy of adventure, of exploring, of looking for what's next. And strong Sagittarius energies can often mean big highs and big lows. It can be exaggerations. It can be everything great at once or everything low at once. I mean, it's a roller coaster because of the energies being quite big. And so I feel like this is a full moon of recalibrating, of not only feeling these highs and feeling these new parts of yourselves, these new adventures, new travels, new places you want to go, but then we come back to the conversation with the sun. And the sun in Gemini is looking for the details, the priorities, the ways that it will all come together and is more specific. So this is the grand adventure of, say, a big trip and where you want to go and what you want to see and what you think it'll be. Gemini is the itinerary that says, okay, on this date, where are you going to stay? What are you going to do when you're there? How are you going to get there? What are the logistics? Gemini is the logistics of the big adventure. So we're working with our mind's desire to have answers and understanding and specifics with this very buoyant, optimistic, oh, it'll work out, anything's possible, it'll come together. Sagittarius is actually okay not having all of the details known. And just show up at the airport, there's got to be a flight going somewhere. Well, this sun is saying, okay, but I can't just live like that. So it's an interesting dialogue here. And it's asking us to stay open to possibilities, to adventure, to options. Again, you're going to feel pulled in this direction because the moon is really supported by Jupiter in Sag. And in fact, Jupiter in Sag is the ruler of this full moon. So in this part of your chart, between 18 and 25 degrees of Sag is where this full moon is illuminating more. Now, the other side of the story is that sometimes this Gemini energy thinks too logistically. It's too fine-tuned or is only focused on today. And there's an expansive energy here of being stretched, as every full moon does. It stretches us. It says, look it over here. You didn't consider this. Maybe there's more to understand. And the weight of the energy is over here that's saying, well, think about your bucket list. Think about the long term. And you could work all day, go about your life, drop the kids off at school, focus on work, come home and eat dinner. But do you want more than that? This is a full moon that reminds you of the bigger picture of your life. Of I want this. Of I'm ready to dream a little bigger and to see something from a new vantage point. So all of this feels very optimistic. However, this Jupiter, which is the ruler, and the ruling planet always has more strength, is being squared by Neptune at 18 degrees Pisces. And you can see that it's an exact square. In fact, it was exact just right before this full moon, when Jupiter was at 18 degrees 43 minutes retrograde. So they're in this ungrounded, idealistic vision of what they want, as well as this Neptune square is a removal energy, because it creates a tension between what you want or how to get it, or what you believe, and then lacking clarity. So there's confusion here. There's confusion. And it's actually meant to have you go inward for trust. And so as the moon hit 18 degrees, it not only was conjunct Jupiter, but it was squaring Neptune. And that was a sense of confusion, even overwhelm. And then it moved ahead to 25 degrees to oppose the sun, which is asking questions and wanting specifics. Okay, what time does the train leave? How many bags can you pack? This is the specifics. And this moon just wants to go. So there's restlessness here. And there's a desire to trust this part of yourself, which I think is very important with this full moon, is to trust this area of your chart for what you are seeking right now. So this moon is receiving a lot of energy. The conjunction to Jupiter, the square from Neptune, and then the opposition to the sun. And then, of course, about a day before, after it first went into Sagittarius, the moon was also opposing Venus in Gemini. There's been a lot happening with this moon, and that means it's like a reworking the vision or staying open. Again, it can be like the big highs or the big lows of Sagittarius, and it's asking you to keep trusting. It's a very trusting energy. It's a very trusting energy. Now, after this full moon, we have a very interesting period of time, because now the moon is going to be void of course. Void of course. Void of course. I just like to do that little spin on it. Where it doesn't interact with any other energies until it gets to 5 degrees of Capricorn. The transition from Sagittarius to Capricorn is one where you've accumulated all this knowledge, this understanding, opinions, what you believe. You've been out in the world, and then you move into Capricorn, and Capricorn says, now make it work. Now do something with it. What are you going to do with all this? And chances are you can't do everything. And you can't do everything you thought you would do with that Sagittarius energy, because Capricorn is about refinement and restrictions, and you only have so much to focus on. If you've ever started a business, you know that they say, well, focus on one thing. So the moon moves into Capricorn, and it has to focus on one thing, and then it's going to get to 5 degrees where it will square Chiron in Aries, and then trine Uranus in Taurus there. So the moon is moving through a big energy period. I would say June 16th to June 19th. And then, of course, we have other things going on too. So there's a lot here, okay? There's a lot with this moon during the Sagittarius full moon. Now, I want to talk about 2 more things here that are equally important during this time. So just as the moon will be void, of course, the sun is going to be what's called Peregrine or Peregrine. And that means the sun is going to move through these last final degrees of Gemini, and it's going to be unaspected, meaning this sun is not going to be connected to any other planets. It's going to be on its own, which is what this means. On its own, unaspected, and that can show up as not knowing what to do, not being recognized. It's the sun. It's the biggest light. And when the sun is not recognized, it can get upset. It can do unruly things to draw attention to itself. The sun in Gemini can start talking smack and start saying all these things to be like, look at me, because this sun is not connected to any other planets, and it's the most important energy in the sky. So we have a time here of, well, talking to yourself, which Gemini is meant to do. It's meant to talk to itself and say, well, what do I think about this? What are my thoughts? What do I want to learn? What's going on in my mind? And when it's by itself, it can be a quiet time. So the sun is going to have about 4 or 5 days, actually longer, because the sun will enter Cancer June 21st and will still be unaspected until it gets to 5 degrees, again, where Uranus is at 5 degrees of Taurus and Chiron is at 5 degrees of Aries. So you can see how there's a lot of energy, and then going within, and then a quiet, and then a sense of, let me think about this. So it's quite interesting whenever the sun is unaspected, because it can feel lost, no home, who am I talking to? I'm on my own, I'm wandering. This is a wandering sun. And in Gemini, he stays busy, goes to all the shops and cafes and bars, but solo time here with the sun being unaspected. And then we have one more big energy going on around this full moon. And I would say it's actually the bigger energy, the biggest energy. And it is Mars, conjunct Mercury, conjunct the North Node, all here in Cancer, opposing Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. This is a very volatile week. This can be a very reactionary energy. Mars conjunct Mercury, hurtful words, emotional words, things said in the moment. things said with a lot of emotion behind them. Hard to take back what you say, meant to show you how you really feel. Okay, so this is the best and highest use, is that, especially conjunct the North Node, how you really feel, which is Cancer, is coming out. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. So we have a very emotional energy here. This is even big power struggles, war of words, tension with these two, or rather three, opposing Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn. I do have a separate video for you on YouTube that talks about specifically the Mars in Cancer trigger alerts. And I feel like with this full moon, big opinions, big belief systems, a lot of righteousness, perhaps people on their white towers. There's a lot of tension at this time. And it's triggering. This is a big triggering energy. So what we're meant to do is actually come back to this sun who's thinking for himself. Think for yourself. Don't buy into propaganda. Jupiter is propaganda, or Sagittarius is propaganda. Don't buy into the war of the words or positions, or where we are being separated as a human family. Think for yourself. Look at how this makes you feel. The thing about war of words is that they could feel good in the moment and then you regret them later. That's also a Cancer energy, is regretting what was emotionally reactionary or impulsive. So this is not a smooth sailing full moon, but it's revealing, it's exposing new truths come out. This is the government. This is the people. Cancer is the people. Capricorn is the government. Different directions that are needed. Look at Brexit, right? Look at the U.S. Look at Venezuela. Look at Cuba. Look at the countries that are really in some big power struggles. China, Iran. I mean, the list goes on. These are not new issues, but this is the energy of something potentially reaching a turning point, breaking, dismantling, shifting. Because this opposition is at first a lock. Things are locked, but Mars is a trigger and an activator. And as Mars gets to 22 degrees of Cancer and directly opposes Pluto, that's the most intense of the energies. So the middle of June is bringing us a lot to think about, to stay conscious of, to stay aware of, to go within. Okay, that's part of this Peregrine planet. Go within for what you think and what you believe. And we're approaching eclipse season in July. July 2nd is the first eclipse. It is a new moon solar eclipse in Cancer. So many turning points are happening. And this isn't new. We've seen this. We've been feeling it. We're aware of it. This full moon I feel is a returning point to your own truth, what you believe, what sustains you for the long term, your own spiritual connections to the bigger picture, so you don't get too locked into your mind. And of course, the trust that we're moving through very big energies, very big times. One day at a time is a good route to go sometimes, right? One day at a time. And that's Gemini, is one day at a time. So a lot to be aware of, especially as we enter a big energy period in July. This is setting some things up for us, this opposition. And then the eclipses will continue to activate it. And onwards we go. So I hope this has given you some good things to consider and sit with. And thank you for joining me. As always, I'll be back with the next new moon in Cancer video. That's that solar eclipse video. And I have a podcast for you on the July 2018 eclipses. And I also do a podcast for you twice a week that I upload here to YouTube for you to listen to. So thank you so much, friends, for your subscribes, likes, comments, and shares. I'm so happy that this information is helping more people work with astrology and understand it. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you back here very soon. Take good care.